One of these days, somebody's gonna strangle you, like the unwanted pet you are.
Arch was resistant to starting early, but I forced him to anyways. He was like, "Are you ready?" He's like, "No," and I'm like, "Sounds ready enough to me." So that's the end of that story, I guess.
Back in the day, we put things like you into bags and tossed them off bridges.
I think that's what they did to Barches, actually. Barch, close your hentai, for Christ's sake. You absolute degenerate. She's like, "No, I like it."
Don't want to, actually.
I knew it. He's reading either some sort of hentai or manga or something, and that's why he's just so like slow. Because I've been sitting here and he just sounds so distracted. It's 9 times out of 10 he's doing something degenerate in the background. Put it down. It's time for the ArchCast. Okay, it's the time for fapping is over. So I can do
have a whole
ArchCast
minute left.
and fap at the same time. Talented, I know.
Whole minute left.
So which article are we starting with today? There's so many
Kyle
to choose
dumps a new article on me, like literally 2 minutes before we begin, too, and he's like, I haven't read it yet. And I'm like, fucking. Why has nobody skinned you alive yet?
It looked interesting, though. I was like, yeah, I'll give it a read.
A read, he says. He doesn't actually read it, however, and so now I'm sitting here like, what is this?
Good. I'm glad someone's being useful.
Right, it looks like some furry decided to make a game about his furry fanfic. Right, very well.
Is it a... Wait, what? Indie developer details terrible publishing contract terms. Look, it's a pretty good headline, I will say that much. It caught my eye. Because the headline is, Indie developer details terrible publishing contract terms. Which is like, uh-oh, an indie developer picked up a publisher and was a little bit sad.
Well, strictly speaking, it doesn't seem as if he actually accepted it, so I believe this is what we call a clickbaity headline, but oh well, minor incidental details.
I was clickbaited. It happens.
Yes, you were. You are a weak child. Now, today we have a few topics of interest. Apex Legends developer, which, incidentally, Apex Legends is a woke as all hell battle royale shooter, so my sympathies are not necessarily unequivocal in this regard, but he was fired for 14-year-old blog posts. So that's one of the topics of the day. Suicide Squad, the latest DC thing that plopped wet, shiny, and disgusting onto everybody's favorite streaming services, has apparently bombed utterly and completely.
Good.
And the coronavirus is to blame for that. You see, no, specifically anti-vaxxers is to blame for that.
That's an interesting... Oh, I can already see their line of logic, as we'll call it.
You can, can't you? Like, this is just the beginning example of how this nonsense, this whole corona vaccine shit, for which I frankly could not care less, is going to be pushed onto these niche fandoms one way or another. And, well that's
niche,
the cutting edge.
DC and Marvel, as far as their fandoms go, they're quite extravagant because they have those, casual superhero things.
True, but nevertheless, like, Caped Crusaders and that nonsense is still a relative niche, and the Suicide Squad, as ass-backward as that is an even larger niche within a relatively, admittedly, large niche.
Admittedly?
It's like, hey, we've got some B-list reject supervillains. Would you like to see them get killed? Kinda, sure. I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea. Does Harley Quinn die yet? No? Oh. Well, worth the effort, I do suppose. And the final topic is Korean games invading the West. And that's a good thing. We should all open our arms and welcome our new Korean overlords because, frankly, they're better at making entertainment than us.
That's an opinion I do not hold.
That's because you
I played
I'm
too
not
many
a very
Korean
good
games. Yes, I know. Fuck, they were pretty bad. Some of them can be good though. Like anything.
The thing is, you gotta realize that they're not made for us as an audience, so you can't really judge their quality based upon certain non-Western standards, but
I mean, if I
we'll
play a
get back to
game
that.
and I get bored, that's not a good sign.
Well, that's your problem, isn't it? That means you were not properly engaging with the game's rich source material.
I see.
Kyle, having been put in his bloody place.
Someone's getting snarky today. I see somebody woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
Actually, Kyle, there's a wall on the other side of the bed. It's literally impossible for me to wake up any other way.
That explains so much.
Kyle thinks he's being clever. I beg to disagree. So, Apex Legends. Let's begin with that. First and foremost, Apex Legends is a terminally woke little battle royale game, and it's bloody awful. It can go over into a little bit of a corner and hopefully shrivel up into a raisin. That
Wait,
would be a good
Apex
start.
Legends. This is the multi-billion-dollar fucking franchise game?
I don't even know if it's a franchise. It's one
Oh,
game,
thing.
so I don't think we can call it a franchise.
Yeah. Multi-billion. Is this the multi-billion-dollar one? Crap, I don't remember. Because, like, I don't follow these games because I personally
I don't
hate
know
them.
either. Like, Fortnite's the biggest one. And that's the big boy. And then you've got, like, the player unknown battlegrounds thing. I think Apex Legend is, like, a tertiary thing.
Makes more
It's
than
the,
$1 billion
it's the
a
setting
year.
in which the
Okay.
one straight white male is called Toxic. He's literally named Toxic, and his special ability is Toxins.
It apparently did make $1 billion in a year, though. That's quite impressive.
Honestly, it wouldn't necessarily surprise me because it did come in at the craze of the battle royales, and I will give it this: it does have colorful characters, if nothing else. That is the only thing it has to it.
I mean, I looked at it because I had a friend who played it, and I don't know. I can't
It's
get
very
into
diverse.
this genre to begin with, so.
It's very diverse, and it vomits colors at you. Here, weapons, blue, yellow, orange, unique. I don't know. I do not care for these things at all. But what I do care about is this developer being fired for blog posts he posted to his humor blog in 2007. Offense,
Okay.
archaeology. These are recently resurfaced, quote unquote. I don't even know how even do they find these things. How do they find these things? Oh, apparently it was from a video or some kind of video about it or something. So they discovered these ancient ass posts, which you can see if you scroll a little bit down on the page there. There's a handful of little links to the egregious posts that he had, of course, made 14 years ago now, making jokes about famine, an inexcusable crime, of course.
Okay. So, why was he fired? Was this the reason?
Yeah.
This is an inadequate reason to fire someone, but okay.
This is not an inadequate reason to fire someone, Kyle. This is fine.
See, the thing is, this happened years and years ago. Even if they were like the worst
This
things
happened
ever.
over a decade ago.
Okay, it literally doesn't matter because people change over time. Even so, like, okay, let's say he's like, all women must die, and then he's like, you know what? Maybe I was dumb, and I shouldn't believe that. De-radicalization should not be, shunned or shamed or whatever. But the thing is, I don't even think he said that kind of crap. Like, the whole thing is dumb. This whole thing is stupid.
You can click on the pictures, and that'll show you literally what he said.
little pictures?
You can see the war crimes.
Oh god, these are so... Trained crazy person or more politically correct woman she is. That's not adequate. That's the moron's chromosomes, XX. Okay. When's the last time a woman behaved rationally? That is right. Eve in the Garden of Eden. I mean, Bastin. He's actually not wrong. I've dealt with more women than most people. Offensive
I'd
birds.
just like to point out, this is from his humor blog.
Like, we hang out with women all the time. The thing is, like, it's like a shit post. Like, I can't even take it seriously. Like, it's a joke. And even if
it is literally a shit post on a humor blog posted 14 years ago.
Snake told me to do thing. Nice going, asshole. Yeah, this is just a fucking giant shit post. They can't even what the hell? They're like, okay, the guy did a shit post, fire him. He did a shit post 10 years ago. Okay. Everybody does shit posts.
The worst one, the most racist one is, man, do you have birds living in there? D. Yes, and a family of Africans. Sometimes I feed them breadcrumbs. The birds, of course, not the Africans. If you feed them, they'll come back and shit all over the place.
Spicy joke, but, you know, it's charming. The thing is, it's humor, and it's not like he's actually doing anything wrong. So this is, again, all pointless and dumb. It's a waste of time. The people who fired them should be shamed, and, yeah, and he should be reinstated. And then,
I don't even know if this is bloody legal. Like, granted, this is in the Apex Legends studio. I don't know where they are, but like firing someone over here in Norway is actually pretty goddamn difficult. Like, it's not easy to fire someone because you need a legitimate reason for firing someone. You need to be able to demonstrate that they're not qualified or they're not doing their job, etc. Stuff like that. You can't just be like, "Hey, he posted shit on social media 14 years ago." Like, that would not work over here.
Some people say the best part is he's woke. I don't know. I need confirmation.
Yes.
He is? Okay.
Oh yeah, no, he is. He is. If you scroll down a little further, you will see the apology series he made.
That's what I'm no longer working. Oh god, that's a string of fucking. First, I don't like looking at people whine and bitch and apologize because it just makes me cringe. So no, thank you. But I'll pull it up for chat's sake. I'm not looking at this because it normally makes me vomitacious.
Yep.
Like,
oh no, he admits himself. He admits himself that, oh, this was all horribly sexist and racist and misogynistic.
No, it's
and he was such a bad person back then. He was such a monster, Kyle. You must understand. But he's worked hard on not being the person he was 14 years ago.
Daniel, you're an idiot. Firstly, those were, like, I read those things, and those were shit posts, so you're lying now. They were jokes as is, and even so. The thing is, no one should be fired for this kind of stuff, but let them eat their own, I guess. I don't really care. Like, at the end of the day, this doesn't affect anything, other than the fact that it just makes them kill themselves, so,
Well, the thing is, this does affect everything. That's the issue, because what this is, granted, this guy is just rolling over and saying, like, oh no, I should totally be fired for what I said. And he literally says that as well. Like, I agree that the person who said this should have been fired if I'd done it today. But I did it 14 years ago. Which, to be fair, too, is a perfectly valid argument. The fact that he should have been, 14 years ago, part of it. Gosh, English. But this has now created an actual precedent, hasn't it? Like, if this guy doesn't argue this, if he doesn't say, like, no, I shouldn't be fired for this, it's now acceptable for corporations to fire someone based upon a decade-old blog post.
I mean, they've been doing this for a while, though. Technically speaking, this is all kinds of jank, and there's no real things that prevent people from doing this as is. I mean, let's be real here. If you see somebody... Now, Again, if you hire somebody, there's a different standard. But would you hire somebody who was woke, Arch?
God, no.
Me neither. In fact, when we recruit people for our indie team, I curate everyone we work with, because I do not want to work with woke people. I didn't, fuck it, no. Like, they subvert stuff, they do all sorts of cringy shit, and they can't be trusted, and they cause drama, and all sorts of other nonsense. Like, no. But, like, if I did hire somebody... they'd be fired for a good reason. Like, you don't fire somebody because of a post that they made. You don't fire somebody because there's some, outrage at, like, they said something. Because people that you work with generally are entitled to their own private life, their own private opinions. So, while I don't like woke people, I still think this guy should not have lost his job. That's outrageous. I think he should be reinstated, regardless of whether he's woke or not. I think it's funny. I think it's funny that this happened to him. I think it's ironic, and it's got some poetry to it. But at the end of the day, he should be reinstated. The people who did this, and he should be reimbursed, and the people who, drug him through this should be, in trouble, because this is defamation, this is bad, you can't do that kind of stuff. They should be the ones shunned, they should be the ones shamed, because they're digging into people's lives. And they should then be, not only that, but they should be shamed because they've dug so hard to find this. Like, when you really want to dig on somebody, like, if I get in trouble with somebody on Twitter, like a wokist, because this happens all the time, they'll dig. They'll dig through my profile until they find something. And if they don't find something that they like, then they'll just, like, leave. Or they'll just make stuff up. Or they'll just basically call you a Nazi, or the usual run-of-the-mill garbage that they just pull out of their ass. And then you just accuse them of being a Nazi, and then they're just like, you can't do that. But that's my strategy. It's like, yeah.
You will find I am actually allowed.
You like name-calling? Well, you're the fascist. He's like, oh, you don't like it, do you?
Okay. Respawn Entertainment are located in the US, in California, like all of these goddamn awful-ass companies, but I don't know much about US employment law. Surely you know something more, but, different states, etc., but can you actually fire someone for the reason of blog post? Like, do you not have, like, labor laws?
Was that the cited reason? Like, what was the cited reason of the firing?
Well, that's the question. We don't know necessarily, so I mean, they could have just drummed something up, I suppose.
Because that's, like, if you really want to get somebody out of your company, like, it's not that hard, to be honest. Like, you can drum up 1,000 reasons to do it, to fire somebody.
I'm sure you can, but, like, in a court, you could absolutely go, like, oh, I was fired the moment my 14-year-old blog post came up.
There is certainly coincidence there, and that would be substantial, because it's like, well, it very coincides this thing, like, almost precisely. Like, that could be investigated, but this guy's not going to pursue it, so nothing's going to happen out of it. Nothing's going to happen here. That's what I mean by nothing matters here, because he's going to fucking tuck his tail like a little bitch and waddle away.
To crown the thing also with just the little bit of absolute cancerous dirt on top of it, of the modern-day far-left community, the man was harassed so vitriolically and so consistently over this that his wife suffered a miscarriage. That is how bad the attacks on his and his family were over a 14-year-old blog post.
Yes, these people will harass people all the time. This is the problem with wokists and SJWs. This is the reason why, as much as... See, Arch wants to be more involved. I personally like to stay kind of out of these things. But, like, I don't... Like, I agree with Arch. Like, when it comes to... They should be combated every time they're found. Because of what just Arch just said. Like, the stress these people do, the harassment these people go to attack people. Like, the amount of people attacking Arch not that long ago, when the initial raid, like the people that were trying to dox him, that were trying to get him fired, and then they found out, like, oh, he's pretty well off, and he's, like, it's a family business, like, there's no hope in hell. Like, they just gave up. But, like, the people who don't have these connections, they will stalk. They will harass them, they will look up information, they will tell them to kill themselves, they will do all sorts of horrible things. These people are, like, not good people. And there needs to eventually be some sort of ramifications for people that organize these things. Like, not that long ago, there was a recent attack on a really good individual, and I'm not going to name here because I don't want to bring that up here. But, these things, like, there needs to be punishments. Severe punishments. Because these things can drive people to kill themselves. It's incredible. They can ruin their career. They destroy lives. These people need to be brought to justice. And they need to pay for what they've done. And they need to be made an example of. They need to be dragged through the dirt until there's nothing left and their lives are ruined. That way, the whole world will know that you can't do that anymore.
This is why it's important to point it out, because people need to know just how bloody terrible these people are, because they are very fucking awful.
It's one thing to not like somebody. It's another thing to stalk somebody, and it's another thing to try to get them deplatformed or fired. If you don't like somebody or somebody's content, just don't watch them. Don't be a little bitch. Just fuck off. Like, that's really simple. But some people don't understand that. It's too complicated for them.
It apparently is. Man, there you have today's little gatekeeping video. Just to remind you, yes, you do have to keep doing this, and these are really, really genuinely awful people. On to something a little bit more uplifting, quote unquote. Well, uplifting in part, if nothing else, is the absolute bomb that was Suicide Squad. You have seen the video? Of course you haven't. Have you seen Suicide Squad?
No, what the hell? Why would I watch it? Oh, I thought you were asking me a serious question. I was like, that's a waste of fine time that I could spend working on something that could actually develop into something, rather than watching, a disaster.
The thing was, I watched it because I saw this article. I was like, okay, fine, I'll watch it and think about all of it. It wasn't that bad. It was better than the first Suicide Squad, which is a subterranean bar, if nothing else to be certain. Yet, nevertheless, I mean, they improved upon it a little bit. Idris Elba was great in it, and so was John Cena. Chinese shield, though he may be. He and Elba actually had really good chemistry in that movie because they acted like two retarded teenagers that hated each other with superpowers, and that led to a fair few funny little gags. I will say that much.
Like, looking at this looks dumb. Like, it doesn't even look funny, it just looks stupid. There's a dude with
a few halfway decent jokes.
There's the pictures is a dude with polka dots, and then there's like a shark CGI monster, and then there's a dude. Actually, I kind of like that actor. I forget his name. And then there's the Harley Quinn lady, and there's a fairly, I don't even know, girl
there's
on the other side of her.
DC character you've never heard of. Yes, correct. The shark, by the way, is played by Sylvester Stallone.
That's charming.
I don't know if I'd call that charming, but very well.
That's an interesting pick, okay?
I mean, he's very old, Kyle. He needs to find some way back into acting and earning a paycheck, I guess.
This looks dumb.
It is, but it's supposed to be dumb. It is a retarded little actiony romp where, and I actually really did enjoy the fact that it completely and utterly embraced the idiocy of the DC universe in full. Like, all of the characters are complete idiots half the time. And I mean, again, the entire story here is basically that the US government recruits a bunch of B and D and C list supervillains to be sent on suicidal missions. It's ridiculous. The main enemy is a ginormous starfish. And that's fun. Kyle's not convinced.
That sounds dumb. Like, that just doesn't even sound fun. That sounds like so uninteresting. Like,
you need to be able to embrace some stupidity.
I deal with stupidity on a regular basis just when I look at the news. Like, I don't need any more. I just want something good. This sounds stupid, though. Polka Dot Guy's outfit, though, makes me happy. Just because it looks like...
Polka Dot Guy dies.
Okay, this movie is now the worst movie ever. Because the only person that I had any attachment to was the guy who had polka dots on his shirt. Because he looked stupid. And now he's dead. You just spoiled that for me. I was never going to watch it. But now Polka Dot Man dead. And this movie is not worth watching for sure.
I personally liked it for again just completely and utterly throwing off all of the ideas of it and just going full ham. It didn't take itself seriously at all, which is that's a problem I've had with DC movies for a very long time, that they take themselves far too bloody seriously, which is why Superman now has to be edgy and grimdark. Like, no. No, he's Superman. Screw off. But that is besides the point. The title, as you've probably seen, is that the Suicide Squad failed at the box office. Anti-vaxxers owe a lot of the blame. What do you think about that? How do you feel about that? What's your emotions right now?
I have no emotions. I'm a soulless entity. I have
That's
become
true.
the meat popsicle.
Devoid of intelligence. The gist of it is basically that apparently people are so scared to go to the movies because there are people who haven't been vaccinated out there. And that's why the movie bombed. Much like Black Widow. Black Widow? Yeah, close enough. Black Widow also absolutely bombed. And then Scarlett Johansson decided to sue Disney because it was that bad.
Ah! He actually sued them?
Yep, she actually sued them. I thought that was funny too. Scarlett Johansson actually decided to sue Disney because Black Widow wasn't released as wildly as she wanted it to be. Apparently, it's some kind of direct-to-streaming nonsense, and she claimed that was a violation of her contract or something like that.
Sounds stupid. This all sounds so stupid. Like,
Sounds deserved.
this still sounds like Paradise compared to GW, though.
I mean,
That stung, didn't it? He's like, ew.
it kind of does, in a weird way. That's true.
They're more responsive when you shit on them. I'll say that much.
That is correct, because again, the Suicide Squad 2 was a far better movie than the first Suicide Squad, so clearly they have reacted to some of the criticism. Because again, this was just a stupid, retarded romp all the way through. It almost kind of reminded me of like a 90s action movie almost, except it did spend way too much of its time on non-retarded rompy nonsense. Harley Quinn gets far too much screen time in a ridiculous 10-minute romance thing that ends with Harley Quinn just kind of shooting the guy. It's like, that was a waste of time, wasn't it?
That sounds stupid.
It is.
He shoots the
We
black
are
guy
going
or
to be
what?
seeing a lot more of this, though. Like, this is the next step.
Wait, hold on.
You know,
Who does
back
she
in the day-
romance? Tell me.
Some fucking 2-bit side character.
Oh, I thought she romanced one of these guys and then shot them, and I'm like, okay.
No,
I mean,
no,
that's
that would have
kind of
been
interesting. Oh, never mind.
Exactly, that would have been interesting.
I was like, that's kind of an interesting thread to do. Like, it's not original, but it could be fresh if done right.
Mhm.
Never mind. I take that back. You already.
They didn't do that. Because that would be silly. But this will be the next thing. Like, mark my bloody words. Like, a few years ago, whenever one of these movies bombed, and the certain side had a vested interest in it not being god-awful for one reason or another, it was blamed on sexism and misogyny. The bombing of Black Widow was based on that. Oh, all of the sexist fans. They're the problem. That they don't want to take a hard fishing thing, bomb, being. I don't even know. I don't even understand their argument half the time.
Oh, the thing is with Black Widow, right? So Marvel movies suck. But let's get that out of the way. Oh, the only one that was good was the first half of Iron Man, and then it went down after Tony Stark had to deal with his rival thing. It was immediately garbage because it was like, oh, it's garbage now because it's just generic superhero plot. But Black Widow's character, because I actually watched a lot of these shit movies, was she was kind of interesting because they're oh, they fucking tied her tubes and she wanted to have babies. and that was one of her character's desires, that she wanted to have like a family at some point, but she could never have a family because, of what they did to her. And then they backpedaled that because that's not empowering. I remember
That's
that being a
patriarchal
drama thing.
norms, Kyle.
Whatever.
No.
Whatever this usual garbage is like, oh, the character wants to start a family but can't because of this thing that happened to her, and it's traumatic and adds depth to the character. And, we can't make that as a character trait, even though she could grow as a character and, develop to become stronger because of her lacking tubes. I don't know.
Well, grow to be strong comes stronger. That's the problem too. Black Widow is a bloody human.
Listen. They're not humans, okay? They have this thing called plot armor. It is the superpower of all the human characters in all the Marvel movies that they all have. Nobody is ever really fucking gone, because even in that one movie when that one special agent dude died, he got his own TV show because he actually didn't die and he was faking it all along, because nobody can actually die in these things. They just come back.
That is correct. Yet, nevertheless, I find it deeply disturbing that the Avengers, the biggest, most powerful superpower team in the Marvel Extended Universe nonsense, blah, 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 has two members whose superpower is being attractive and firing a bow.
Pew, pew.
These are not superpowers, Kyle. These are not superpowers.
My bow power, activate. Like, what the... These are
At
dumb.
least the dude who can run real quick can claim to have an actual superpower.
Who's the dude who can run real quick in the Marvel franchise? I forget.
He's red.
Are you sure?
I think. Wasn't that DC?
That's Flash, or whatever his name is.
Oh, no, there's a... Oh, no, the other guy's French.
What?
Yeah, Quicksilver.
Quicksilver. Isn't he?
Yeah.
I thought he was a DC character.
I don't even know. I don't know if I care anymore.
Quicksilver. He's the dude with, like, the silver surfing board? No? I don't even know.
No.
I think I'm thinking of something else now, chat. No, wait, that's the Silver Surfer game. Silver Surfer game. Quicksilver, says chat. He's the speedy boy of Marvel. Good little Marvel.
To be fair,
nerds.
that Quicksilver scene in the X-Men was fucking brilliant. I'll say that much. That was an excellent bloody scene.
I did see that. I haven't saw the movie, but it looked kind of neat.
It was a really good scene. No. He was in Marvel. Yeah, no, because he's Wanda's brother. I knew I was right. You little idiot.
I don't know
Trying to distract me.
Marvel, DC. I know they're different, but they're all basically the same thing, because nobody's
knew I
ever
was
really
correct.
gone, and they come back to life every 5 minutes.
Well, but such is normal. But, again, the point is, this will be the new thing. Their franchises will not bomb because they're bad. They will bomb because of COVID. They will bomb because of the anti-vaxxers.
There's
Because
no
that is
reason they will really bomb. No one's ever really bombed. No one said that. That's their statement. No one's ever really bombed. None of our products have really ever bombed. They just, failed because of extenuating circumstances of other things. No one ever
That
really
is
bombed.
true, Kyle, because Cruella, the movie about the Dalmatians villain, is getting a sequel.
See, no one ever really bombed. They just,
No one ever really bombs.
they failed upwards. Like, whoa.
They do indeed.
This sounds
They
so
fail upwards.
stupid. Help me. I pulled
Oh. Well.
Now let's talk about
yes.
something kind of exciting.
Actually, let's tease chat with that first. They can look at the actually attractive characters and be like, what? Games have those?
Shall I click the trailer button for chat?
Yes. That'll confuse them. They won't understand what they're watching. And then I can deal with some super chats.
I'll turn on the sound a little bit, but not enough to
Just-
do that.
Just look at that, chat. Like, doesn't that actually look fairly interesting? But
I'll make it full
before
screen
that,
for them.
Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, back from the dead already. Nobody's ever truly bombed. Kyle, your entire premise is wrong because you are assumed that woke people are rational. Those woke people are Nazi totalitarians and should be treated as scum. Also, California is an at-will state, so they fire from any reason except for race, age, etc. Right, well, there you go. One, Kyle's wrong, which I accept entirely. And two, California is a backward goddamn capitalist hellhole, apparently, where employees can be fired for absolutely any reason whatsoever. Very progressive. Ah, your country, Kyle. Why haven't you just moved? Canada's right there.
Do I have the resources to move? No.
Oh, do you have a backpack?
Reap. I'm gonna spare myself the cancer. I'm sorry, chat. Anytime they use rap in a promo thing, like, I just cannot stand rap.
That is true. No. See, that's the thing. Good rap is excellent, but it's slightly rare.
Like, when I hear rap, I'm like, oof. It's like listening to new American countries. Like, oof, I want to just sort of put my head underneath the car tire as it goes forward, and I'm like, just no.
Any song in which they ever verbalize "yeah" or anything along those lines needs to be removed from humanity's history. Now, John McAfee, wow, just lots of dead billionaires in here. Assume malice from the SJW when they make accusations. Don't buy their stuff, let them eat themselves, and add fuel to the fire for anonymous social media account. It will be quite interesting if they Epstein each other in Roblox. Oh, I cannot endorse that. Though I was told recently that Roblox is a haven for KKK clan members and neo-Nazis.
Hold on, Roblox, the little Lego game thing? Or
Yep.
Lego people thing? Roblox, let's Google. What? Roblox isn't the cool ones, is it?
I don't even know, Kyle. Like, it sounds like something my cousin's
Oh, that's a
children
video
would play.
game thing. Okay. I thought it was like the Mega Blocks. Yeah, the Mega Blocks. They were like Legos, but they were like cool Legos because they had like cool stuff. Mega
Cool
Blocks.
Legos.
Mega Blocks were fucking cool. Ew, those look like for 2-year-olds. That's not the Mega Blocks I was thinking of. Oh no, Chad, I feel like a monkey. That does not look like the cool thing of anything. Okay, there. See? Something cool. Halo Legos, basically. Whatever. They're basically Legos. But they had, like, cool stuff. They had, like, this cool, like, dragon thing. And I had this massive golden box thing. Well, it's tin. But, like, it had, like, dragons, and they had, like, batteries in them. They go and stuff. It was cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see this, Kyle. When I Googled it, I see the stuff that you give to toddlers, like the retarded large Lego, which you give to people you are afraid will swallow normal Legos and die.
That's the set. Yeah, it was called Dragons. Yeah, I have, like,
I'm
a ton of those.
starting to see what kind of a child.
Hold
Kyle
on,
was.
they're really friggin' cool. You don't understand, okay? This is dragons, okay? Yes, Chad. Look at that. Look at it. That looks pretty friggin' cool. I even have that gate. I'm pretty sure I have that set. I'm pretty sure I have almost everything. They came in
My
like
God,
cool
yes.
eggs.
This is so cringy, isn't it?
Ah, little kid was so happy. They would like put them together and you could like build like castles and shit. It was cool. You know the ones we're talking about, chat?
I never thought you'd be the kind of half-wit child that played with retard Duplo. Like, that's disgusting.
It's pretty neat, I think.
Disavow.
See, chat's like, yeah, that's right, chat. Bro, that stuff was awesome. You're damn right. It's like,
Did you play with these while you rode the short bus? Says chat.
what? No. You didn't ride the short bus if you had these. You rode the fucking gold bus because you were rich, because you could afford these, or your family could, not you. Like, yes, I'm wealthy. Fuck you, plebeian tier children.
Kyle, 4-year-old confirmed. Correct. Yeah, I think the chat is
I'm
turned on you, yeah.
reminiscing. It's kind of like the Micro Machine Star Wars stuff, chat, okay? This is a tangent that we need to indulge. Okay? The Star Wars Micro Machine toys were super cool. They came in like little spaceships, and like they'd open up and there'd be stuff inside to play with, and little
Micro
tiny
machines
things.
were pretty awesome. That's true.
Oh, they were so amazing. Like if you let's say you don't like the Mega Bloks Dragons, You'll like the Micro Machines Star Wars like set. The Micro Machines had like other toy sets too that were just awesome. Like they were great.
I do remember the things that like folded out into these massive play sets. Those were quite neat.
They were. They really, really were. Yeah, that's what they had. I had like a truck one that would unfold into like this massive city thing, and then you could have like little tanks and you could drive them around on it. I was like, wow, urban warfare. It's like prepare to die, child. Oh no.
What's the topic again? As the chat. Good question.
Fuck the
Well, we're on
topic.
super chats now, so it's fine. Yorozuya asks, "You fired Dev? Why? Because he was eating all the maple syrup." I see no other reason required. But Black 1917 says, "Hail Arch Christ, our Lord and Savior." Also squack. I like Black. He understands where the power dynamics in this relationship lies. And Gus, does Kibbs even know how to read? Good question.
I hope
Kyle,
so.
you never play tutorials in games. Is this why?
No, I do it because my dad told me that if I played tutorials, I was a wussy.
Hmm.
So I never played. He also told me to turn the difficulty on to the hardest setting. And so I did for the longest time. I was like, these games are hard.
I mean, your dad was correct.
He's like, play on the hardest setting only and no tutorials. Tutorials are for pussies. And I'm like, okay,
They are.
Dad. Okay.
Andrew Apalatugui, I forget. Good afternoon. Would you recommend the Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds for the first time DM and for first time players? First time, Roll20. Because the license for Fantasy Ground is like $100 or something. Don't spend that. Fantasy Ground has a lot of really cool stuff, but it's not that much better than Roll20. The primary advantage of Fantasy Ground is it automates a lot of the back end, and if you're going to be playing something basic bit starter stuff like D&D, Roll20 does that too, so you're much better off with that. Captain Caboose, long live Arch and Tex. Yes. Luckily, the whole drama surrounding that seems to have died down, which is good. I utterly disavow anyone who thinks it's okay to attack someone for actually just having a civil conversation, but that's the modern left, isn't it? What
Yes.
can you fucking do about it?
It's absurd what they did to him. You should, if you haven't already, you should go over there and give Tex a little bit of a head pat, some support. If not, even if you're not particularly interested in BattleTech, I'd urge people to subscribe just to give him support, just to give a little bit of moral support to say, we're not going to stand for that kind of behavior. Like, Tex is a great man, and what happened to him should never happen to anyone, ever. That's
Tex
just
is a lovely
disgusting.
lad, yes.
He did nothing to deserve that.
On the right side, I did get sent a lot of messages from the BattleTech forum, basically showing the mods there absolutely shutting the shit down of the people. And I particularly like the post where there's a person who arrives and goes like, "I'm a long-term fan of BattleTech. I don't like this." And somebody just links in, "This is your post history. You've never posted here before, but you post heavily on Sig Marxism. Go away."
Yes. It's coming out now, more or less, that most of these people never were into BattleTech to begin with, only came in here to harass Tex to get at Arch. That's how disgusting these people are. They're not, like, honestly, they tried to do their damage because what they were trying to do is the same thing they tried to do every time they'd done it before. They were trying to strong-arm Tex into disavowing Arch and throwing him under the bus. Which is, no one should ever, ever, ever be put in that position. And that's what they tried to do. And that's what they've done in the past. And that's what they're going to do again in the future. This isn't going to stop here. This kind of behavior is going to continue. And it's disgusting. And it's immoral. But they're going to, I don't even know what else to say. These people aren't good people. And they're just terrible people. I don't know what to say about it other than that. Just disgusting.
Much disavow. Uziak13, are you in contact with Tex? Is he alright? Yeah, I've talked to him. He seems to be doing fine now. He's just laying low, let it all calm down, and chilling out by himself.
Mm-hmm.
The real Holtonator, a rampaging Kyle noises. Rampaging.
That's what I do.
Something. And he was wrong.
If no one else is gonna do it, I might as well.
Yeah, it's true. He is my attack dog. Ramp the H donates $1. Thank you very much, sir. But YouTube is greedy, and you can't write messages for less than 2. I do love that, by the way. I don't know if I don't remember if I talked about this on stream previously, but this happened on Patreon as well, where they started sending out lots of messages to creators saying like, "Oh, you should make the minimum tier $2 because that way, your patrons will feel like they're receiving twice the benefit. They'll value it twice as much." And I'm like, well, I mean, technically, you're correct, I guess.
There's a logic to it, but it's dumb. Yeah, no.
It's a very, very merchant logic to it.
The reason why it's, in my opinion, it's always good to have a low tier for my own patrons and stuff is just because the idea is like, I want people to be able to get those rewards, but even if they're in a tough economic situation, and if they want to support, even if it's a small amount, that's support nonetheless. I just am annoyed by Patreon. Patreon's cancer, and I hate them. Because they've made me... I hate them so much.
I see the point. I see the point. Like, if a person is willing to part with $1, he's probably willing to part with 2. And if $1 adds up real quick, which it does, $2 adds up even quicker. Particularly for a company like Patreon, who is in financial dire straits because they have tons of lawsuits on their hands because they like to yeet random creators. Something they've stopped doing now, incidentally, because of the backlash, although they're still yeeting hentai and non-safe work creators because, nobody wants to defend those.
Yes. They did actually make me, because we have concept art we post our concept art for our game on ours, and we actually got hit with the same thing. Because our gods for our deity system, like, it's very, like, statues, and the statues for one of our gods, I think it was, crap, I can't remember which one. It was one of the male gods of, like, partying. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
I know. You sent me penis pictures of these gods.
I showed you. Wow. He's got a big floppy dong, and it's like, pee-pee. But, yes, that statue, even though it's, in my opinion, it's just art, it's not actually, sexualized, that was not okay, and they actually contacted me and forced me to remove it. So I had to inform my patrons that they can, go to the other places, because I post all the art for free anyways. Like, donations are just a bonus. But it's annoying to me because I have to inform them that now the patron doesn't get all the posts because of that. Like, that was the first time they ever did anything to really piss me off. Like, I've heard stories, and that was when I was like, yep, and they're coming after me now.
Good. It's gratifying to see the Patreon system finally going after the bad guys.
Wow. Rude. Bigoted even.
Tolerant, I'd say. Diego Flores. Her contract included endpoints from cinema sales. That is why she sued, since Disney said that no, you don't serve anything from the streaming revenue. Ah, there you go. And to be fair, that's a very valid reason as well. Like, if she's getting paid extra from cinema sales, and Disney does indeed say, fuck you, we're not going to release it on cinema, we're going to do it on streaming service, that sounds to me like a violation of contract right there. Absolutely. But it's still funny to see Black Widow suing Disney after. I remind you as well, this chick was also like, oh yeah, no, it's a very, very feminine flick, and we're taking a real, we're taking a face down with patriarchy and her past as a sex symbol. I don't care, Mr. Actress person. We know why you're doing this, and the fact that you're now suing the company for lost revenue seems to add to that. Kai says, art is the pride of Norway. That is correct. Accurate statement. Don Pete XX. I find it funny Monster Hunter Legends of the Guild movie has more monsters in the first minute than the whole live-action failure that Hollywood made. I did watch that too, and I feel the urge to, at some point, make a movie channel where we just watch really awful stuff. Because I wouldn't have to suffer alone then.
Yeah, we stream movies. That's funny.
No. Watching Ron Perlman in Monster Hunter is a crime that no man should be spared,
Ron
frankly.
Perlman's the only time I ever saw Ron Perlman and was like, yeah, he's actually not half bad was in the Hellboy movie, and that was it. And that was the first one. Like the other ones
Ron,
kind of didn't do so well.
Ron Perlman, blessed be his tiny white heart, is
Looks like a
not an
monkey.
actor.
I mean, look at him. He looks like a gorilla. He's like, ooh, ooh, like he's got caveman face bad.
He does have caveman face bad.
He's
true.
like, I am the last of the Neanderthal people.
He makes for an excellent villain. He really does, and he makes for a very intimidating person to play the bad guy. But he is one of those actors who plays himself. Ron Perlman plays Ron Perlman, and you see him in a movie, and you just go like, "Oh, that's the bad guy." And yes, that is the bad guy.
That's dumb.
Apparently, he played in Beauty and the Beast in 1987. Interesting.
The cartoon?
No, a live action show.
Sounds horrendous.
Oh, God. Okay, right.
Please, God, no.
I am not sparing you this.
No. No.
There you go.
Oh,
Enjoy.
God. I mean, it kind of looks like him, It kind of fits.
That's him, but it's just like looking.
Oh, God, it's a modern
Jesus.
adaptation.
Mm.
I can
Well.
feel the 80s cringe returning to me.
See, the period had so much good stuff. Like
It
the
did.
Hercules live action show and Xena, as absolute cringe and awful as they were still good.
Oh, wait, the Hercules TV show with, what's that actor's name? Oh, God, I can't remember. He played in Andromeda. Like, that actor is a riot to watch. He's... disappointed.
The Hercules live action series was brilliant. It was fantastic. It absolutely was.
I've got every season. Kevin Sorbo. Yeah.
Sorbo,
I like
yes.
Kevin Sorbo. I followed him on Twitter for a while. He's it's a fun show, at least, to say the least.
Eorik of Eoforvik, Jesus, these names, saw the title and thought that Dev SFO had gotten kicked from the Skaven RP, lol. Also, have Kyle earned the rank of sidekick yet? No, still pets. And if Dev gets kicked from the RP, it will be far more wildly publicized, I believe.
What? What do you mean Dev get kicked to the RP?
Yeah.
What's that supposed to mean?
Kyle confused noises. Good. Stay confused. Gola82. Kyle's parents didn't love him. They didn't buy him Legos. This explains why he's a VTuber thought.
Listen, I had Legos and Mega Bloks. I have and Connects and Technic. I had everything. I was the upper middle class kid in Mike's school, so I was like everyone's like, let's go to Kyle's place because he's rich and they have like a movie theater there. Because we do. People would come over all the time. I was spoiled, and then
Connect. Wow, that's awful.
The housing market collapsed, and then I was like, hey, poor. I got to experience two sides of the coin. Really sucks. But at least I had a lot of shit, though.
Ashley Whitney says, "Hey Launch, have you heard of Frostgrave? It's a mini agnostic skirmish game similar to Mordheim." I probably haven't, no. It sounds like yet another tiny little tabletop thing that exists somewhere on the wide internet and nobody has ever heard of it. There's a lot of those I've started to learn. Let's see. It has people, it has bright wizards, and it has celestial wizards. Good. And it is literally set in Mordheim, I see. I do see a hint of inspiration here, absolutely. It has undead, yep, of course. And that's a Mordor troll. Huh. Okay. Oh well. The real Holtonator says, I had that set 2 cubes. It was cool. And Arch, the big idiot proof blocks are called Duplos. Yeah, I know. That's why I said it. Duplos.
But why?
Because they were made for special children. It's fine. It's okay to be special. Now, let's actually talk about the Korean invasion of the West, shall we? Because Korea's been invaded by everyone. The Japanese, the Chinese, the Russians, the Mongols, everyone has had a go at Korea. And finally, they're trying to, answer back in kind a little bit. But
Well,
unfortunately, they don't have a military, so they're going to have to do it
this
the
is one
new
of
way.
many games that have been released in the West, and there have been many failures.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying that their glorious military campaign hasn't had a couple setbacks.
They're video games. The last Korean video game I played was Black Desert Line. Before that was Kingdom Under Fire, the MMO, and that was nothing like the original. Like it lacked the proper big battlefield. It's a shame.
Kingdoms Under Fire has such a cool idea. I do love the idea of Kingdoms Under Fire, but it needs it needs a big modern day upgrade. Is what it needs.
It needs a budget.
More substance.
Because we played Kingdom Under Fire, the M2, the MMO, and we got to the end content, and it was like there's not a lot there. Like it's just like it's an MMO that had failed multiple times and just didn't quite take off. But the Kingdom Under Fire series is
never
available.
quite died.
It keeps coming back. Like it's back now. Is it actually? Fuck, I don't even know. Like I haven't played it in a while. I've uninstalled it after I got to the late game. Under Fire. Yeah, it's a one-time buy-in MMO, which is a bad idea in my opinion. Oopsies.
If the chat is unaware, by the way, Kingdoms Under Fire is this really interesting MMO idea where you create an army of units and then you command them in battles whilst also fighting with your dude on the front line. And it's really big and visually quite interesting.
Yes. It was fun, like, because each player commanded in the MMO, and in the single player game, it was actually really good. If you ever play it, check it out on Steam. It's actually, the originals are both on Steam now, because they ported them. Oh, they're actually fun. They're really hard, though. But you play, in the MMO, you play as a hero character, you pick your class, and then you get, I think, is it 3 units? It's been so long since I played. And then you can be different unit types, so they could be like orcs, they could be like, troll monsters, and then you maneuver them around the battlefield, while also being on the front line and like fighting manually, like a hack and slash, which is kind of fun. Like it's pretty slick.
It's an excellent concept, and it's a lot of high fantasy as well. And then you can get new units like bowmen, cavalry, and orc monsters, and all kinds of cool shit. Like it's a really cool concept, but it was developed originally, and this is Kingdom Under Fire 2. Was released, when was it? A very long time ago at this point.
Oh god, I remember following it in like 2012. Like I remember like that. Was it? I think it was announced in like 2010 or 2011.
Kingdom Under Fire 2 was released in 2013 and was only actually released in the West in 2019. So what the version we got was essentially a slightly tweaked version of at that point, like, what, 7-year-old game?
Yes. I mean, this game is ancient by comparison.
And that is the problem, because it's just hilariously outdated by the time it reaches the Western market. And the reason for this is that the Asian gaming market has been very insular for a very long time, because they have a very different culture than us when it comes to gaming. It even varies a great deal from country to country. Like in Japan, for example, they like to bombard the ever-living shit out of you with what we would refer to now as DLC. But in their case, it's literally stuff like pay $3 for a different outfit that is purely cosmetic in a single-player game. And then just dozens of things like this. And also re-releases of a game with like minor tweaks and changes to, for example, the storyline or particular aspects. Like, there's one called Koihime Muso. It's a dating sim game, so pretty waifus that you can seduce with your skills. It's been released, basically the same game, with basically the same story, but played from different points of views 5 times.
Jesus Christ.
Yes. Very much so. The Korean gaming market has been kind of a little bit the same thing, but it's been focusing more on quite grindy mechanics. So usually you will have stuff that needs a lot of leveling up. And the way you level it up is by either spending a lot of time in game or by depositing a small quantity of Korean. What do they spend in Korea, Kyle?
North Korean monies. I don't know. All I know is when Norwegians donate, it's NOKs. So I'm like, North Korean slaves, nice.
Use those to develop things. Apparently. A small deposit of ones. Ones. There you go.
Okay, once. Well, the more you know, I suppose.
Yeah, small deposit of ones. And that doesn't translate very well over here in the West. So by and large, when they actually send something over, they tend to rebalance it for the Western market, calming down the grind a little bit, calming down the microtransactions a little bit, and trying to appeal to us. And there's actually been quite a lot of this. You've undoubtedly seen on Steam all of those anime-looking MMO games, like, I think Black Desert Online, isn't that Korean?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Black Desert Online is. We played that for a bit, but that one was hard to hold our interest because it's just so.
It was too much. It was too much stuff. Like I was sitting there and my eyes were glazing over as it threw like 2,000 concepts at me, and I was like, I don't know what any of this means.
Yeah, BDO suffers from the fact that it just isn't. It has the same problem New World kind of has, where it's just like okay, they just shotgun shat themselves at the wall with like random fantasy ideas that are poorly developed.
And there is also is that one Ion, that was another one, yeah. Ion and Blade and Soul as well. Like a lot of these they've got a very unique art style that it's irrecognizable as Korean almost immediately. It's like a kind of mix of anime plus a little bit of Western influence plus a little bit of Chinese influence. Like, it's weird to describe. What's the one with the unbelievably good character creator? Is that Blade and Soul?
BDO is the one with a good character creator, but I think you're thinking the one.
That might be it, because it has like an incredibly high-powered character creator. So you can, like in Western MMOs, you're like, okay, I've got 7 hairs and 4 faces. Oh no! In these games, you can adjust almost every single last detail of your characters. In fact, they released the character creator separately because it was that good.
Yeah, I do remember that.
This is really cool. And the reason why these are getting a lot of traction now in the West, the one we were going to talk about today, kind of like an explanation of it, was Lost Ark, which is coming out next year, I believe, or at the end of this year, like December. It's actually been out in Korea already for like 3 or 4 years or something. But it basically looks like Diablo. But it's like Diablo plus Path of Exiles plus that anime appearance to it. And the reason why it caught my eye so suddenly is I was just browsing through Steam aimlessly, and I saw, attractive characters. That's weird. I'd forgotten what those looked like. Is this anime? And yes it is. Because they're the only ones who are doing this today. Like, literally. No, Western games just do not do this anymore. And there was a Korean animator that did a really great little thing on this, which didn't I put that in the bloody link channel? I thought I did.
Let's take a
look.
look.
Did you lose it? You lost it, didn't you?
You
did something horrible
lost
to me.
it. It's at the bottom, I think.
Oh, there it is. Yes.
Want me to pull that up?
So, Yep, you can just pull it up and put the audio really low. I doubt we're gonna get a copyright strike from a fellow YouTuber, to be fair.
I'll just leave the audio off. You can go and
Yes.
watch it here if you want the full thing.
Yes, drop the thing in the chat box. So this pretty damn brilliant little animation is basically a dude who comes up to a game dev, Western game dev, and he's like, "Hey, I've got this awesome concept for a new game, right? And it's gonna have this beautiful fucking character here, this big buff blonde barbarian bastard, like classic Conan the Barbarian style shit, right?" And the other guy is like, why does he have to be white? Don't you understand? We need a more diverse audience, don't you know? And so he turns him black. And he's like, okay, well, why does he have to be male? All right, I'll turn him female. Okay, why does it have to be attractive? And so he turns it into an ugly female. And it just goes and goes and goes and goes. And he keeps just doing what the modern day left does. And destroying every part of it step by step, just disenchanting all of the magic, all of the interesting things, all of the flourishes, until you are left with just a boring, deadish, amorphous, blob-like entity with no character, no charm, no charisma, just a bloody rock. And it's like, there you go. That's what the Western market wants. And of course, it ends with a quip like, okay, this will be a huge hit. Let's throw in something that'll be a hit in the Chinese market. And they just throw in a pair of anime waifu babes. And you're like, okay, that's correct. That is an accurate representation of the modern day Western gaming community. As Kyle says, they're watching in awe at the animation, like, yes, this is what my game will be.
I'd like to point out that we're not like that, because Arch is going on about like all Western things, and I'm sitting here like, owie, knifey, baku.
Hashtag all.
Hashtag not true. There are developers that aren't like that, and there are people who are trapped in some of the studios, kind of like this, what this video here portrayed.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there are some, absolutely, but as a general trend, even amongst indie developers too, is towards, frankly, ugly, uninteresting characters.
I actually hate that I have to say you're right here, because like I would love to say like, yes, my fellow indie developers, they are actually making they're making like good games, they're making like sexy characters, or they're doing everything right. But Arch is kind of right, like, or not just kind of, like very much. Like a lot of the indies that come out just don't do that anymore. Like, it's not about characters looking good, it's not about them looking appealing at all. It's about trying to be inclusive. It's some sort of political message, and some sort of crappy contemporary politics need to be shoved in there. We need a gay character here for no reason. It's like, okay, like, and the character is defined by what? Oh, the fact that they're gay, because that's how hollow and pointless this is. Like, that is the problem. And that's not to say every single indie. We still get others from other places, like Factorio in the East, but when it comes to like the Western side of things, like I can't say that I know too many that do what we do, which is tragic in my opinion. It's disheartening, but that's just the way it is right now.
And you can check this out for yourself. Just pop on Steam, start looking through games, and I bet you practically every single attractive female character you see is going to be in some kind of anime waifu art style. Practically all of them. Whilst bearing in mind, too, the male characters in Western games haven't changed. They're still classically attractive and handsome characters. Huge fucking muscles, chiseled, defined faces, etc. They haven't changed, because this isn't about objectification or sexism or any such nonsense. This is literally just the whining complex of it. It is a tactic used to gain entrance into these settings, and it's worked out brilliantly as well. It absolutely has. There are so many people in positions of power within these companies now that Hell, Apex Legends, to bring up a previous topic, the first two pictures of female characters, one is in a Power Ranger suit, so you can't even see the character. The second is an old grandma that looks like a bug woman. And the third is Bug Woman again. And it's just like, wow, these are astonishingly ugly characters. And they seemingly have been designed to be ugly characters.
Mm-hmm. It's sadly the case. Like what Arch just points out, when I talk with my fellow developers, when I talk about when we were looking for new animators, because we gave up. It's tragic, but we gave up looking for a new animator to help out with our current animator, our lead animator, Cashew. I couldn't find a single animator after months of looking that didn't have some sort of BLM thing in their bio or some sort of like weird pronoun thing that did pixel art, because it's a very niche style of thing. And so it's like, okay, well, Cash, I'm increasing your workload. Here's more money, I guess. But like it's difficult when you look for certain things, especially like sprite artists. Like it's very difficult to find ones that aren't, and those that are scared. Like their lips are sealed. And I've met a few, because they are terrified. Because they will go after you, and they will destroy your career. They'll make sure that no other game studio will ever hire you, and no other indie team will ever hire you. And because some of these indie teams are politicized, it's very difficult for these people to speak openly and freely. One of our newest members of our team was so afraid of speaking about their open mind, they felt like they were basically in a prison. And when they finally got to work with our team, like they were like, oh wow, this is so great, like I love this, like I can actually speak my mind here without, like, you guys aren't going to cancel me. And I'm just joking, like, yes, we're going to cancel you. But it's one of those things where it's actually sad, like that this is the state of the industry. And people say like, oh, things are going to get better, but it's so entrenched now that the few indie studios that do exist, and the few studios that do exist that aren't corrupted by this, like, it always makes me wonder, like, is it just a matter of time before they are, or are we going to actually ever see a resurgence? Because the more and more I look at, like, new people coming in the industry, coming out of those colleges for game design, stuff like that, which are a waste of time and money, but, like, they're politicized, like, heavily politicized. Like, it feels like we're alone in a sea of brainless idiots. It's kind of crazy. It's an uncanny feeling.
And I know this as well. A lot of the artists that I know have basically told me the same thing, where they're just like, I would love to be open about what I think, what I believe. I would like to be able to talk about stuff, but that's not going to pay the bills. And people will cancel me if they know. I even know people who work with people that they consider friends, and that they still would be like, yeah, no, I would never talk to them about politics because they would disavow me if I did.
Yep.
Like, Jesus.
You understand that fear, though. Like,
oh, yeah.
It's a fear I understand, because the people I work with have come from that sort of thing. But, like, it's strange. It's strange. I don't know. It's hard to read because, like, we're in a small sector, so we only have a small view, and what we see is generally just a wokest mob and a sea of idiocy. But I don't know. I imagine that there are others out there that also are kind of like us, that have that same sort of mindset where it's like, no, it's not about, contemporary politics. It's about making a good game and stuff like that. There are people like that out there. I know that for a fact, because you see them every once in a while, because they get mobbed. They get mobbed when they speak out. And some of them make it. It's like that Gums guy. Or is it ex-Blizzard dev? That's one.
Yes, Grums,
like yeah. I follow him on Twitter. He's a good lad. There's a lot of them. There's still a lot of them out there, but sometimes it can be disheartening to just look around and you just see SJWs everywhere. And the thing is, it's not the fact that their political leanings are whatever. Like, it's the fact that they forcefully insert it, and not even just forcefully insert it into their own works, but the minute, like, somebody, like, criticize that or another developer doesn't do that, like it's insane. Like I was on our animator streams because our animator streams every Tuesdays and Thursdays are when he works on a game. And one time I came in there was this guy who came in there and was like, "Oh, cool, that you have a lot of female characters," and that's like, okay, it's kind of weird, but like a weird thing to point out, but whatever. And then they're like, "Oh, but they're all kind of not like black or brown or whatever," and like, you need to make more of them brown. And it's like, go make your own game.
To be fair, I see the point. You need more delicious brown characters in your game.
One zone at one cultural setting at a time. We'll get there. There'll be some
delicious brown waifus.
I've got plans for that, but that's down the line. As everyone should. But it's sad. It's sad in my opinion, because it's just, you see this all the time. I've had even I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's just dumb.
It is the state of the world, and you're gonna have to accept it. And that is why we are now seeing more and more stuff like this. Because to begin with, I think one of the I think I forget the rate of this, but I think one of the earliest games that did this was Terra?
The MMO?
Terra? Yeah. Which kind of came over here after already having been in Korea, and it was kind of like testing out the waters, being like, hello, fellow people. Are you interested in waifus? And people said yes. And it became a pretty damn considerable success over here as well. And now we're seeing a ton of this. We're seeing the Blade and Soul, we're seeing Ion, we're seeing now Lost Ark. More and more of these fairly old Korean titles are being converted over to the Western market, simply because all of these Korean developers who thought they were making a game purely for the Korean market are looking west now and seeing people like, just ugly women, please help, send waifus.
I don't know. I've never even looked into... I mean, I've seen Terra, but I never looked into it. I don't know. I've seen quite a few Eastern games, and there's a few I like the Nier series I was able to get into, like the EDF series I was able to get into, Earth Defense Force. Like, it's not to say that like these it's impossible, because they do actually make good games, and they're fun games actually, but some of them I just couldn't get into. Like, I struggled getting into Monster Hunter. I struggled trying BDO. Like, I couldn't quite catch in, you know, quite click.
Monster Hunter is probably one of those good examples too, because it created a very large following in the West fairly quickly. Despite, and here's the thing, like, you and I both played Monster Hunter a little bit. I kind of almost gravitated towards certain of the grindy aspects of it, but it's a game where you have to beat the game once before the game even begins, and it is very grindy. And yet, Monster Hunter World is so less grindy, so much less grindy than practically any other title in the series.
Yeah, it is. But I don't know. Like,
they're trying.
I didn't mind fighting the boss like once or twice when it's like, you need to do it 30 times. Like, I don't wanna.
Yes. Fighting the boss like 2 or 3 times is cool, but you soon realize that if you want to actually get the gear, you need to kill this boss like 10 times. And then, when you've beaten normal difficulty, you need to kill that boss another 10 times. 20 times, perhaps even. And so on, and so on, and so on. And to be fair, too, that is, in many cases, a gameplay thing as well, because EDF is pretty much the same thing. You just exchange bosses with levels, and then you go like, okay, now do those levels again, but with a higher difficulty, and we'll toss in a few more enemies, and we'll toss in a few more mechanics and stuff.
Earth Defense Force I could get into more. Maybe it was just the style of gameplay, or maybe it was just like, hey,
it's probably the style, because Monster Hunter is a very particular style. It's its attack pattern stuff is like Dark Souls on steroids, whereas like everything has an attack pattern, everything has a cooldown period, everything has an action period, etc.
Earth Defense Force is great because there's something special while Bubbles is calling in airstrikes on top of us because there's ants swarming over the top of Arch and I ourselves. Like it's
a very simplistic idea as well. It's just a shooter with monsters. Like okay,
like
that's
tons
easy
of
enough.
monsters, thousands of monsters on screen that are rushing towards you to kill you. It's kind of a novel thing. It's basically like the closest thing we're ever going to get to a Starship Troopers game, which is kind of why I wish the company Sandlot, the developers of the Earth Defense Force franchise, I wish Sandlot would make a Starship Troopers video game.
I do really
That'd
like
be great.
this, though. I like the idea of more Eastern games coming our way.
That is
because
good. Yes.
they have an influence that we desperately need. And maybe in return, we can teach them a few things as well. Like, oh no. I'd like to play the game once, please. And they're like, what? No replay game 4 times?
Yeah. Even though I like the Nier series, it's like you need to beat the game 7 times and collect all the swords in order to get their true ending. It's like, come on, game, fucking Christ.
Yep.
Fucking
Like seriously, why?
there, now you got the true ending. You know the end of the story. Normally I beat the game like 3 times. I'm like, okay, time to YouTube it. If it's one of those you need to get all the weapons and then level up the weapons to max, like, no, thank you.
And you need to do that to get a satisfying ending. It's like, ugh, no, I have a job.
I don't want to play. Like the gameplay loop got. Oh my god, the titty physics in Terra. Damn, bouncy.
That's another thing we can learn from the East as well. Bounce.
Bouncy. My eyes like snapped to that when that happened too.
I will say too, I love the worlds they make. I really do. They look so huge and fantasy-esque. Like everything's crazy. Like their castles are the size of the Statue of Liberty, like titanic stone pillars holding up a fortress built on the back of like a fucking turtle or something. I like that. I like the crazy worlds. And I mean, look at Amazon's new MMO, The New World, where you enter in the new, unexplored world, a mystical world filled with strange monoliths and ye old English town over there.
Shut the fuck up. Oh my god, I almost spilled my peach tea. Oh my god. It's so right though. Like wow, we landed on the new world, there's all these shipwrecks, and then we get into the coast and it's like, oh, there's a settlement. There's a well-developed road. Okay.
They've laid bricks down on the fucking road.
Like, where's the untamed and unsettled and like mysterious jungles you have to wander through? Even World of Warcraft has that. What the fuck?
There's a fucking settlement every 300 meters.
Every 300 meters is a settlement. There's fucking roads to get everywhere, and the infrastructure is built up, and there's farms, and there's fucking developed cities and stuff. And it's like, yeah, but where's the
like it's
frontier?
basic bitch settlements either. Like they're fully built up settlements with a fucking housing market.
Where's the frontier? Where's like this like abandoned frontier outpost, and like, you know, you gaze beyond the frontiers like battlements, and you just see like a dense jungle like ominously in the distance, like looming. Like, there's none of that.
No. And when you do get into the jungle on the southern end, it's more like a tropical resort than a jungle. And of course, it has a settlement too.
I half expect Tropico music to start playing when I was down there.
Right? And all of this after the intro as well, where you're walking through a ship graveyard, like, there's a Viking longship, there's a trireme, there's a carack, oh my god, all of the crazy things in this world. And you come in there's like, hello, I'm a Spanish NPC. All of us are Spanish here. We all wear conquistador outfits. Like, what? We're the Romans.
Oh, what a waste of opportunity. See, the idea is like, okay, this land is like stuck in this perpetual thing. So what they could do is be like, there's a Roman settlement, a colony. There's a Viking colony because the Vikings came over there, and then there's like there's an English colony and a Spanish colony, and a Portuguese colony, and a French one, and like they're all vying for power. So you could even have like Romans fighting like French, you know, soldiers with conquistadors stabbing them in the back. Like, that's a cool, like, hodgepodge of, like, weird, like, timepieces all forcibly slapped together. No. You see some Viking wrecked ships in a trireme, but, like, you don't really see any Viking armor sets or Roman armor sets or anything like that. No, because what could have been cool is like, okay, even if the Romans are dead, right? You could see like this old aqueduct built up or something. So like, oh, cool, look, there's a Roman settlement that was here. You know, there's some ruins or something. And no, it's just some generic floating. It's the worst thing. I complain about this every time. The worst thing I ever see about an ancient dead civilization is random bits of floating fucking geometry. And I swear to God, I saw that in the game, and I was just like, I almost had an aneurysm. Like, random floating bits of geometry with, like, a blue glow or a blue color scheme or something like that. Like, that's the dumbest thing ever. Like, that's not futuristic sci-fi, like, ancient empire thing. That's just random bits of geometry with no culture, no anything. Just random shapes. Random. I hate
Random
them.
shapes.
Ah! Soulless art direction.
Luckily, the Koreans will save us. On that note, too, I would highly recommend watching some Korean television. It's absolutely goddamn fucking bonkers. It is genuine insanity. Oh, a Kingdom. Kingdom is a Netflix thing. One of the few things Netflix has done right. A zombie movie set in Korea during like the feudal period. It's pretty kick-ass.
That sounds kind of interesting.
It is, and it will introduce you to Mr. Bad Korean Person, who's like Korean's version of John Ron Perlman. He always plays the bad guy because he looks evil. Like he just looks really evil.
You look like a bad guy, therefore you are a bad guy.
I've watched a lot of like Korean war movies. He's always the North Korean officer. I'm like, wow, this guy survives a lot of shit, doesn't he? Oh, it's great. Anyhow, let's begin wrapping things up a little bit with some more super chats.
Get up.
The Real Holtonator, I had that. Oh, I read that. That was just him being like, yes, no. Kyle and I were both special childs playing with Duplos. Glow in the Dark, Warhammer KGB trying to gulag Descent again. I'm sure I did see somebody posted my video on Boycott Warhammer Plus on the official Warhammer Reddit, and he was immediately banned, so there you go.
Nice, 10 out of 10.
Boag, I have been a long-time fan of Arch. And frankly, I found the lack of cheeks clapping highly offensive. Now change everything to appease me. About power. You're going to have to go to Minnesota for that.
Doxed it.
Just follow the Mississippi until people start speaking Swedish and Norwegian. We'll be fine.
I don't think
What now? To our Dark Lord Arch and your fallen princess, Kibbs, can you share about your alternative project to Warhammer? Thoughts and ideas you're pondering? No.
What project? I didn't quite catch that.
Yeah, me neither. You will know nothing about it until I am good and fucking ready to blow your socks off, hopefully.
Oh, Barch, yeah. Okay, I see what he means. Yeah, Barch has got a ways. Barch is in the... I forget what you call it, but it's basically like you're shaping it out phase. I've managed to crawl my way out of that, and now I'm actually producing. Like we released our first song publicly, and I was so proud of that. Like our musician released the song, and it's on our homepage now or channel, and it's like, wow, people are like, the music is beautiful, and I'm like, yes, worship me as a god. What the hell is that thing you just said me? That's like
just a random thing I found. It's kawaii though, isn't
it? They're probably gonna get stoned, to be honest.
They probably are, but hey, it's their fault. Kyle Glow in the Dark, Kyle Rich Boy. I was still watching 70s, 80s cartoons on VHS. I didn't even know cable existed until I was a teenager. Grainy bunny years, TV nostalgia. Yes.
Less. Like VHS was kind of out of the thing relatively when I was growing up because we got DVD player really early. Then we got the first HD thing, which was, I forget what it's called, like HDD or HD or something like that. And then Blu-ray outcompeted them, and then we had to switch over to that. I remember that. There was the whole HD race. Oh yes,
also,
good times.
Just allow me to drop a little bit of a spicy take here in reference to the picture here, right? Okay. The US withdraws after what, 10 years, and nothing was done. You have to bloody wonder, is it can the US and NATO really not defeat a bunch of mountain-dwelling savages? Or was there some other agendas at play here?
This isn't quite related to gaming, but on that topic, the
On
plan.
that topic, because all I want to say, I do have a spicy take here, and that is that I saw there was a television report on Norwegian news, and they were interviewing a woman who was like, "Do you think things are getting worse now that the U.S. has retreated?" As Taliban stands like a mile outside of the city, and the woman just, yeah, no, yeah, no, oh really? And here's the thing. Behind this woman was a ton of men, fighting age men, and I gotta bloody say, if you're still not fighting in Afghanistan, if people are still fleeing, 30,000 people fleeing per week, fuck you. You don't want freedom. Screw you. You had 10 years of coalition rule. You still can't stand up to the Taliban for more than a couple of weeks. You don't want freedom. I'm sorry.
Trained,
you do not
you
want
got
it.
handed free equipment. Like, even the South Vietnamese resisted, for fuck's sake, with the Battle of Saigon. Granted, they got plastered. But still, it's just
like, I agree. It is a hot take, but it's just like it annoys me because they're like, "Oh, please, West, help us!" Like, fuck, we did.
the thing is,
Good God.
they want to be free, but they're not willing to pay the price. And the problem is those that do want to pay the price are too few in number to make a big enough difference.
So, like, at this point, I just gotta say, like, the Taliban is fighting for something. No matter how misguided and retarded it is, visions of a invisible man in the sky, they're fighting for something. And you can't beat someone who's fighting for something with people who are fighting for nothing.
I mean, there are people fighting back. There's just not enough of them. There's not enough people who are convicted.
Convictions.
Whatever.
I do like the idea of penal armies you bring forth there, Kyle. But
they might have to pull that out. I mean, they're losing. They might as well do it now.
Oh, the thing is that already I've seen reports that 70% of all US equipment left in Afghanistan has been seized, and I'm just getting flashbacks to the caliphate in Syria. It's like, do you just hand this shit over? Like, yeah, please, have a stock of Humvees. As I see the Taliban fighters driving through the streets in fucking Humvees with 50 cows on the roof, and I'm just like, holy.
I mean, I actually was reading into this because I find these things fascinating.
With you.
But a lot of them, the tribal leaders and stuff, because again, it's a very tribal state. Like, it's not like our countries. Like, they operate in different tribes. Afghanistan may look like a unified country, but deep down there's a series of tribes within it. The Taliban, for a long time, had been basically making plans to be like, all right, you side with us, and we're going to look the other way. And we're going to ignore all the things you did when the U.S. was with you. You basically get a pardon. And that's why a lot of the governors and the tribal elders are taking that pardon deal, because they're cowards and they're scared. A lot of the military forces feel like they've been sold out and betrayed, because the leaders are like, all right, pull out, and they're like, what? Okay, and then
fucking have.
It's a complicated situation that is only made worse by the fact that there isn't enough good leaders there to really make up the difference. It suffers the same problem with any new founding nation that has been founded in recent years, like the South Vietnamese. Same problems. Incompetent officer corps, incompetent leadership led to so many problems with the South Vietnamese military not being able to pick up the slack when they were given the opportunity. Same problem with the Afghanistan forces, the same problem with the Iraqis, the same problem when the Soviet Union were in there and had their little puppet forces. Like, in order to truly build up these nations, you need 50 years to change the culture and the education system of the next generation to make them convinced in your ideology. Like, you have to do that. You have to switch their culture. In order to do that, you need multiple generations to have set in, to remove the old, outdated ways. But the issue is, we didn't do that for the 10 years we were even over there. We just sat there, and nothing really changed. This was inevitably going to happen, and this will continue to happen to any nation that just does this. Afghanistan isn't this untamable country. In fact, it's rather easy to fix that country by comparison. But in order to, quote-unquote, make that a thing, you need to change the way they live. And not everybody wants to do that.
You need people to be willing to fight for freedom. Like, I'm starting to think that there's no way to liberate a people, because the people either want to be free or they don't. Oh, which also, hey, right. To segue over to something slightly less controversial, and Kyle, take a picture of some waifus instead before you delete the video for that fucking.
What?
As funny as that picture is. Oh, but
don't-
anyway, there was the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing that said in an interview a while ago with the whole anti-vax thing, and it's like, but don't you think that it's a little bit harsh for the government to force people to get vaccinated? And he literally says, "Fuck your freedoms." I'm like, Arnold, you're from Austria. Like you were in the goddamn red pact armies, and here you are in America as a fucking governor and a movie star, and you're saying fuck your freedoms? Like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah, he's part of the political elite because he's also a bajillionaire.
Yeah.
There, found a wife.
Just really disappointed me
You'll
about
be
him. And it's so
approving of that one.
it is so easy to say, isn't it? Like, fuck your freedom. Like, freedom is easy, isn't it? We have freedom. That's fine. We can sacrifice a little bit of it. It's not like it's expensive to get back or anything.
It's not like it's almost impossible.
Fuck, that triggers me. Now, there you go, Chica.
See, I knew it.
Much better.
I knew it. I knew it.
Much better. Hello. SJWs are Nazis donated. Screw the SJW who blame anti-vaxxers for the failure. If you take people's human rights unless they take an experimental drug as coercion. Remember, Buck the Bell allowed for forced sterilization on black women. Hashtag wokists are for forced sterilization. Hell, wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, remember that whole thing with the Planned Parenthood clinics, and how they were specifically set up in communities that had, more black people in them, because the founder wanted to remove black people. They were extremely racist, and it's disgusting. But this country is plagued with people that believe in that kind of crap. And still do. I mean, look at how they defend them now. It's kind of sad.
That's too good. That's
What
too
did you
good.
give me?
Just got posted in general on my server.
See, I would ban them, but you're weak.
It is funny though.
Well, now it's funny when your YouTube channel disappears. He's like,
no, that's
no.
true. Doge is a far right meme now, so there's that.
Any meme is a far right meme.
That's true.
That is the problem with these people.
I said to slow down in some case to avoid offending the US. Oh God, the world is just. Right. Go find the Chica dance on YouTube and just have that dancing in the background instead, and I'll probably get us a copyright strike or something.
The Chica.
Gummy Bear 21 for a very, very generous £50. Really like the Petraba video, just make me more sad with how shit the company is, because love the world and wish you the best with your IP. Really looking forward to what you can come up with, and so you can have my book money instead of GW. Thank you very much, sir. Money well spent is what I'll say.
Power of crowdsourcing.
Chat, Taliban, why is this working? Why are we winning? These are good questions, chat, but I don't have the answers. Boag, please tell us what manga you were reading before stream. I actually wasn't. I was trying to make a wargame deck, but then Kyle's like, no.
Wargame Red Doigan. Like, Doigans is?
Oh, that was because... Oh, let's...
Oh, that's right. You remind Keeb that Keeb has to prepare for the stream.
Yeah. Boag again, don't forget the Korean special sauce, NTR and grape. See... I don't understand why people have such a harsh reaction to NTR. NTR is fucking hilarious, okay? And everyone just needs to accept that. They just need to embrace it and be like, yes, this is a good thing. And they need to laugh at it. People who get offended at NTR are bad people, okay? It's not you. It's fine. It's a cartoon. Laugh at it. It's funny. It's funny, Kyle. Funny.
They don't have a Taliban faction in Red Dragon.
That's too bad, because I would play it. Outraged Deer. Big think Abhornash is the immortal dragon emperor. He would have had to have moved rather quickly for that to happen, I think. Especially since I'm pretty sure Neferata was in talks with Fantasy China during the time of Abhornash. Maran Gatu, did you go with my super chat from last week that I sent as the stream finished? Also, watch, look at Drop Zone, Drop Fleet Commander, great wargame system. I believe we did. I think Kyle sent me something about that.
Which one?
I think. Oh, send it to Kyle. Kyle's my. Kyle. Yes.
What was it? What was it called? I was
I don't
setting
know.
up the stream. They changed how you set up the stream now. Like, look at this shit. Okay, chat, look at this. Look at this, okay? Look at this dumb shit. Like, this is kind of what it used to be, but it used to all be in here. And now you have to press this button to go over here. It's like, turn on monetization, and turn off the other stuff. And then you have to go, like, look at this. Look at this. You see this bullshit? Like, what are all these extra tabs? This one's actually quite nice, though. Did I mention that the new stream function allows you to be like, okay, only people who can participate in chat are subscribers or members. This is good if you ever stream Star Wars games. There's so many fucking bots that attack chat. It's not even funny. It's terrible. You got a trailer now? What the fuck? Weird.
Yeah, news of it. Glow in the dark. My bro was playing Monster Hunter. It took him an entire week to get one piece he needed from Monster for his gear. Monster dropped everything he didn't need. He could have built every other gear. Yes, that is the key of Asian games. One thing you need, and you gotta have it. Brett Verdheim, Fall of Kabul, Fall of Saigon 2.0. Well, this time the Americans won't be airlifting people out at the last second, I think. Hope. Quote unquote. Glow in the dark. Arch, I got one meme for you. And then nothing. Presumably that meme was too spicy for YouTube. Israel won, and they fought in multiple countries at once with second-hand British weapons whilst being outnumbered. That is true. That shows you what determination can do. Determination is worth almost any number of soldiers. SJWs are Nazis. Arch states in the US are at will employment, and firing can occur for any reason unless it's via federal civil rights law. Also in NSW Australia, they are sending additional troops to enforce lockdown. Fuck you, Gladys, you Nazi totalitarian. I did hear about that. It's, well, you know, Australia, does it have any rights? Well, if it did, it doesn't anymore. And may I point out, now that Kyle's brought it up on the screen as well, that animation right there took some poor bastard apparently 6 months to make.
It's quite a long animation. It's actually got a lot of movements. You got a full rotation right there. Like, oof. Like, when I did animating, like actual animation, like, rotation was the thing that made me want to kill myself. When a character spins around, like, oh, and there goes Gibbs right out the window. Right? It's like, no.
Oh, not just that, but the thing is, normally, you animate by cheating a lot. So when a character makes a move, you want to have as few frames as possible whilst maintaining smoothness of the animation. Whereas in the Chica dance, they animated almost every frame.
You can tell, too, if you look closely. Like,
oh, absolutely.
The quality is actually really poor here. Let's see if we can improve that slightly. No, sadly.
Like, it was a ridiculously massive job, a stupendously massive one, which they did purely because they wanted to show off their animator EPs, basically. And they did, successfully so.
You know, that's super, like, full. Like, there's no cuts there. Like, you can see how smooth the animation is because they're not, like...
Yes.
When we have a character thrust in our animation, generally it's like, it's got the squash thing, so, you know, you zoom in there, and then it's able to show energy, you know, transference faster. It's also just a stylistic way of doing it. But in here, like, there is none of that.
there's almost no intermediate frames. Like they've animated practically every single goddamn one, and it is ridiculous. Embarrassing. Yes, yes. Sounds embarrassing. But then you knew better. See, I still do encounter some people who are like that, though, who are like, "Oh, I'm a leftist," and like, "I'm for freedom of speech." Like, ha 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 ha.
No, that's not
But
to
oh
say
well.
there aren't leftists that aren't actually. Because remember, there's just a lot more extremists now than there were ever before.
Well,
Like,
that's why we talk about the Overton window.
because we have a friend, Dogerton, who's left leaning, but he is not a crazy nutcase. What does he do when he finds out about an SJW? He says the same thing we do, like, cringe. Like,
Traitor Dog is poorly educated. That's the problem with Traitor Dog. He's like, "Oh, I'm a lefty dog." Back into
he is
house.
allowed to have his own views.
Back into house. You're
No.
only allowed to come out again once you have adopted the correct stance.
Bad Doger. Bad Barchington. Dog
Bad
did nothing
Dogerton.
wrong.
I know. Go into the house. Locked door. I am glad you agree, Kyle.
Dogerton, no.
The Taliban donated. Lol, the US spent 88 billion in 20 years to build up the Afghan army, and it collapsed in 3 months, and we're going to conquer Kabul. Gladly, in NJW Australia, it's a nasty tyrant who's sending police and troops to crack skulls to enforce lockdowns. I'm doubting you're going to conquer Kabul from Australia. Just to point out that to YouTube as well. You're not actual terrorists. Calm down, YouTube. Ah, the Afghan army.
They are about as competent as any nation that is bolstered up in a few years and then abandoned immediately. But with not proper training and not proper re-education and stuff like that, like, there's nothing to really tweak it. Like, I'm surprised the failures of Vietnam and Afghanistan haven't been a lesson. I'm talking about Soviet Union one. Countries like us. And the thing is, when we went in there, I do remember reading like a thing about like, the actual like plan is like, yeah, we need 19 or like we need around couple generations time to actually, change the people and do stuff like that. And we need to set up new education programs and schools and stuff like that to help educate the populace. And did they do any of that? No. We just sat there and spent money doing nothing. Just to feed the military complex. That's all we did.
You did expend a lot of munitions, so you did do something.
The cycle continues.
Boag, I'm not going to read your name. That's a tricky one. I recognize your icon. Screw you.
Which one?
I have outfoxed you. Weeb review stream when? Need hot takes on mangoes.
Mangoes?
Mangoes. Manga.
Okay. He's just being a dummy.
Mangoes.
Got it.
Diego Flores. Art, since GW is being derp and even kill the hype of Kill Team with the sad excuse of a compendium, I found Oathmark that is better old world game than old world at this rate. Oathmark. Oathmark miniatures. Alright. That looks neat. That also kind of looks like Warhammer. That also really looks like Warhammer. Those are Lothran Seaguard, I'm pretty sure. Oh, well, at least that's something different.
What's Barge's opinion on re-education?
Kyle should be exposed to it, and only Kyle. Outraged deer, come on, Abhorash deserves something nice. Does he? Maybe a nice little ring or something. Jeff D, Archie should try Ash and Shadows mod for Red Dragon. It has Syrian and Egyptian as a faction, and they have VBID as Horde mode is fun too. Mods though, we'd have to install them manually for Red Dragon. That'd be awful, and I'd be sad.
Manually installing mods?
I'm sure they're working on the next Red Dragon now, or the next war game, which will be in space and it'll be awesome.
No, it won't.
It will.
You know it too.
Maram got two. Kibbles. I'm trying to show alts to GW and you avoid showing them. You DW shill. Kibs, drop zone is akin to epic, drop fleet is akin to battle fleet. Well, that was your error, wasn't it?
I still don't know what he's talking about.
Me neither.
That's a good question. Will the Taliban still let women vote? I think they'll just kill their women, like they did anytime they tried to speak out against them.
Like it's an interesting question, isn't it? Like, will they retain the right to vote? Maybe. Just like their men will retain the right to beat the fuck out of them.
Yeah, no. The thing is, I do believe in cultural spheres and the idea that there are cultures that are just superior to other cultures. Like Eastern culture, specifically work culture, and specifically their rights for women are inferior to Western ideals. I do believe that. Like, if you treat women like lesser than humans, in my opinion, like, that's not right. And that means that I believe that Western culture is superior.
I don't know. I can see benefits in this stance.
I believe everybody deserves a fair shake.
Yeah, but I believe that if Disco was chained to a desk and paid next to nothing, she could create a lot of stuff for us.
I think that, sure, she could create stuff, but if she had her own free will, she would be more innovative and more free thinking.
Yeah, but
we might see
if
new creative
she had-
solutions develop.
Can you prove that she has her own free will, though? Can you
Yeah.
demonstrate this to me? No.
Yeah. One day when
No,
we
you
release
can't.
devlogs, you'll see. You'll see. You'll all see.
Okay, so that's a filthy lie. Gotcha.
Wow. Rude.
Chained to desk, still appropriate action. Peter donates £5 without a message, so either that was too spicy for YouTube or no message. And lastly, Shunkatsu, Chika versus Mio Honda, the war criminal. Who wins? See, I think the stream already was like, we've spotted copyright material from the Chica. The war criminal, Mia Honda, would be worse. Right. And with that, half and a half on Streamlabs. Manga is the superior comic. Unfortunately, Manga Dex went down for months and many translators kind of just disappeared. Any good site to use for manga? Manga Kalot, Kalot with K's is the one I use. It's pretty good. Manga Dex was better, and it's back up now, and it's doing fairly well, but yes. Manga Dex getting itself hacked was a bit of a blow, sadly. Tragic, tragic, tragic. Dan Creedy, for the amount the US pissed away in Afghan, would have been cheaper to just buy the country and turn it into a new state. I mean, probably. I can't imagine that Afghan's national debt could have been more than 88 billion. Oh, it's sad, but it actually makes a certain degree of sense. Oh well.
Good,
Oh,
good.
and Boag. Right, fine. Since you're donating 200 tacos, I guess I will. Not Boag, but instead, the one with the sharpest fangs wins, says, come on, give us a weeb stream, review some manga, some anime, make Kibbs suffer. The problem is, I would just be talking, and Kibbs would be sitting there, looking confused.
Spinning
even
in
more
my
so than
chair,
normal.
but not fully able to because of where my chair is positioned, so I'd thwack myself.
Like, it's already difficult to get Kyle's tiny little pea-sized brain interested in subjects that hasn't got to do with game development. He'd just sit there and make noises occasionally.
See, I would actually, if we actually just like, what we could do is we could stream the anime in our little squeaker room and watch our squeaker shows, and then I could watch it. Yeah, that could work. Watch it together. See, I like doing that. It's like we watch Star Trek and stuff. It's like, wow.
Meow.
Wow. Look at how old this is. Look at that. You gotta wheel sometimes. If you don't wheel, then you're not doing it right.
Chad Taliban says, be me, poor Shep in Afghanistan with AK-47. Actually, that's an AR-15 now, sir. Half my family died to American drone strikes, no matter. Live in cave, have 10 children, problem solved. Live in cave for 10 years, occasionally raid Americans. Use 2 kids as bombs. America gets bored, we win. That is kind of funny.
Is it?
It is kind of funny. Because it is kind of what happened. It's like, America got bored, we won war. And I was like, yes.
That is true,
like,
though.
actually, kind of, yes.
That's like the same thing that happened with Vietnam was as soon as like the popular support from the American people stops, that's the one Achilles heel to a republic. They're like, Once the people are not interested anymore in war, they're just like, meh, done.
Meh. We've earned plenty of money of this. We've expended a lot of munitions. This is good. We can quit now.
We'll go find
The
some other
Taliban?
liberal.
Thank the US for the heavy equipment allowing us to conquer Afghanistan, peg men, turn women into sex slaves, and stop them? Oh, stone them. Okay, there you
What?
go. Warhammer 40k is the military strategy and tactics are horrible. Also, why not get Petravo to reverse engineer old tech? Because lazy.
Yeah.
Did the US do more harm than good? Possibly. But hey, that's the story of the US.
Nobody knows. Ba-da-ba-ba.
Shunkatsu says, just make Kyle watch Goku dolls. Actually, Kyle would enjoy Goku dolls. Like, he'd watch that and be like, I identify with these characters.
That sounds... I don't know what that is. And because considering when I first met him, his first thing was to try to convince me to watch Boku no Pico. And I already knew what that was.
Pico.
And I was like, I'm not buying it. And he's like, God damn it. And then, okay, Boku no
Boku no
Pico.
Dev.
Boku no Dev. No. To be fair, he deserves it.
See, Goku dolls is an exceedingly Japanese concept, where three hardened Yakuza gangsters fuck up a job and lose their bosses a lot of money, and instead of killing them, their boss decides, hey, you know what we're going to do? I'm going to transition all three of you, and you're going to form a female idol band,
What the
and that's how you're going to pay me back.
Hold on. Is that what?
Yes?
He transitioned them.
Yes, all three of them.
You... What the fuck?
Yep.
I'm having a hard time processing this.
And that's why you should watch it. Here.
No. Don't know.
See this picture right here?
No.
Those three men and those three women? Same people.
See, the thing is, it's anime, so that could be a funny
They look
parody.
so sad, too.
That looks so dumb. The only reason that works is because they can be like, oh, look, you know, their hips are wider now. Like, you'd have to surgically alter their hips. And, like, everything else and about their bone structure in order for them to actually have the proper physiology of a woman. Simply just swapping out the genitalia doesn't quite work that way. It's not even swapping it out. It's just like turning yours inside out. Oh, Jesus. Or inside in. I don't, whatever, you know, whatever. I don't get it. Animation was shit, though, says Taroni. I'm going to use that as the original Netflix series. Hold on. What? Netflix, get out. Like,
I think we're gonna have to watch this one, yes. I agree.
give me back my cock.
Somebody, snip that. Use that clipping feature. That is a fantastic quote.
I read that, firstly, so that's not fair. And secondly,
Clipping.
no.
Clipping.
Chat, you have... There's so many... Chat, let's talk about this. That's terrible. Stop it.
Oh, it is quite excellent. And Black1917 finally asks, where are the Dota streams, Kyle? Good bloody question.
God damn it.
Not goddamn it, Kyle. God has nothing to do with this.
I need to... before we even think about ending it, I need to show you something, Cancer. But I don't think I have the heart to show it to chat. But I have the heart to show it to you. Look what happened. Okay? Do you see this?
I see this. And I approve. I see nothing wrong.
That's the H variant of that concept. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's terrible.
It's not. Half and Half donated. Any interest in Splitgate? Not immediately. No. And Chad Taliban, God, YouTube's going to hate this stream. Americans leaving every city surrenders before we even get there. Get lots of new toys. What even is half this stuff? See, No, feel bad for America. We drove 100 miles, but everyone surrenders before we get a chance to fight. I'm having a hard time carrying the new gear. I imagine some hill savage wanders into a US armed depot, sees a fucking paved way, and is just like, what is this? What the fuck am I supposed to do with this?
Chat's begging for it. Prepare to be demonetized, Arch. He's silent. He's like weeping. Look at that. A certain Swiss artist thought it would be funny to post that in the concept art section as a valid submission for one of the concept arts for when they're casting magic. And I'm like, what the fuck? What? This is all about having a good atmosphere on your dev team, okay? You got to see a rejected
This is what a good
design.
atmosphere creates. Perhaps your atmosphere is a little too good.
A little too good? I'm sure Sandra will be happy.
Now, with everything read, thank you all very much for watching. Thank you for your generous donations and for taking time out of your busy day to watch Kyle call out for his penis and post hentai on my stream. Have a good day.